Afternoon, everyone. Um, my name is David Woruka, Head of Brand and Design here at Futuresoft, and you're welcome to this episode of Launch and Learn. So, Launch and Learn is where we share our experiences as thought leaders in our field here at Futuresoft. And today, I will be taking you on a journey where I show you how to harness the power of AI designs for your marketing communication. So if you're joining us for the first time, you're welcome. And I hope this will be a lovely ride. We do this twice every month, and you can join us in our next episode. You can keep in touch as well for our lunch and learn sessions on our social media channels in our Futuresoft NG. So thank you very much once more. I'll jump right into my presentation on the spot. So today I'll be starting with an introduction of AI-powered design. Then I would start basically looking at some AI design tools, the need for AI-powered designs, some notable applications, AI-powered designs, and then the role of humans in this AI world, and the challenges AI is facing as an evolving field, and then talk a bit about the future of design. So before I go away, so according to CompShare, so 48% of marketing leaders cite AI as making the most significant difference in how customers interact with them. So what this simply means is AI is already changing how marketing is being approached in general. So let's start with the introduction. So what is AI designs or AI-powered designs? So AI-powered designs are basically designs developed with artificial intelligence. They're developed either using algorithms to generate designs based on your criteria or some of the criteria you set of constraints or preferences. Sometimes they are not designs just 100% generated by artificial intelligence, but they're also designs that are done in collaboration with designers. So when you combine human creativity and AI-powered assets or data. So when you hear about AI-powered designs, sometimes they are designs that are 100% generated by artificial intelligence, but of course with human prompts and constraints or preference or criteria set for that purpose, or the combination of the assets generated by AI and infusing that with human creativity. And then AI basically helps professionals to craft personalized experience, reduce the number of manual labor, the number of time you spend doing manual labor, and you can access AI designs, AI design tools as generative AI web platforms. And I will be talking more about that later. And you can also find them as specialized AI design software, which also have an analysis for that, and also custom AI models. And also I have examples I'll point out for each and every one of this case. So talking about AI, what's AI basically? I'm sure it's a term most of us are familiar with. AI is basically artificial intelligence, and it's basically the simulation of human intelligence, by machines, especially computer systems. So if you're talking about, the simulation of human intelligence, examples are expert systems. Expert systems are systems that, are trained to actually, sound like professionals. Where you train AI systems to sound like doctors, to sound like lawyers, they can basically give you information as an expert would. You train computer systems to actually perform that function. You talk about that natural language processing, speech recognition, and generative AI. Speech recognition, you're talking about, cases like Alexa and Siri, we're all familiar with. And then when you're talking about generative AI, I'm going to be talking more about generative AI today, because when you talk about AI-powered designs, it's that subcategory of generative AI. That's where you then find AI-powered designs. And basically, generative AI, refer to that subfield of artificial intelligence that can generate data like audio, images, text, 3D objects, and videos. An example of a generative AI that most of us are familiar with, because I think that's one of the most popular generative AI at the moment, because it's something most people can use, is ChatGPT. So basically, you talk to ChatGPT, and then it responds to you. You type in your chats, with the ChatGPT. You ask ChatGPT questions, and then it responds to you in the most scary way. If I say so, the first time using ChatGPT, I was actually astonished, especially with the way it responded. I had asked a question, and it just didn't give me answers. It was even more like, oh, sure, almost like an interactive session I was having with my computer system, or with that system I've actually logged onto, which is ChatGPT. And that's what generative AI means. So, and generative AI actually functions that way by actually using machine learning, which is also another subfield of artificial intelligence, where systems learn or improve performance based on the data they consume. So for instance, I will use ChatGPT again as an example because most of us are familiar with it. So I can ask ChatGPT for, let's say, a food recipe, a popular food recipe, and I can ask ChatGPT to give me that food recipe or to write it in a tone of, let's say, a Gary V, or maybe a popular author, and ChatGPT will be able to actually generate this because I've actually seen someone use ChatGPT to perform similar function. And ChatGPT is able to do this because it has data, about, how Gary Vee writes, and it already has data about that recipe you're also requesting for as well. And then, it doesn't create these things, from let's say, from what is already existing by just copying and paste. It actually rethinks the data it has and then recreates it where it's actually original. So when you're talking about generative AI consuming data and then recreating it, it's not copy and paste. It's actually creating something that is unique to you based on what you've actually prompted it to create. And then I will explain more about generative AI as I first start with some AI design tools. So I wanted to start here because if I go with the full explanation, of what the benefits of these tools are, they might be very confusing, they might be very complex. So I wanted to start with the tools first, so you understand how most of these tools work eventually. And then when I start explaining the benefits, it's easy for you to relate. So there are several tools you can use for AI design. There are a ton of them. If you search the web, there are multiple. There are just so many, and new ones keep coming every day, but I've highlighted just 6 of them here, and that's DALL-E 2, Midjourney, and Lexico. So for image generation, DALL-E 2, Midjourney, and Lexico are very popular. And then I have Chroma, FontJoy, and AutoDraw. So Chroma are for colors, FontJoy, like I said, it's for font, and then for AutoDraw is for like icon illustrations. So it's important to understand that these are not just the only tools you have, but there are multiple tools, but I'm just going to be highlighting these ones. And because I think they actually form a framework that can actually be deployed, by a marketing team or even a client in collaboration with a marketing team as well, or with an agency, have a client-side marketing team in collaboration with an agency. So, but you can use AI tools for font pairing, for color palette selections, for illustrations, banner inspiration. There are AI tools for each and every one of them. So let's start with DALL-E 2. So DALL-E 2 is also owned by OpenAI, the same owners of ChatGPT, and it's a system that can create realistic images and art from a description in natural language. So you've seen 3 images on my screen. All 3 images, are actual photographs. They look very real. The photo of the house looks like a house in the countryside. You see the photo of a dog and the photo of a Rolls Royce. And these were not images that were photographed by any photographer. These were not taken anywhere. You won't find these images the way you've seen them on my laptop anywhere else on the internet. These images are images I own. If you take the prompts I've used there, especially for the fact that these were very simple prompts, you may not be able to even get exact or even closely related images. Because for the house, I've just said photo of the front of a house. For the dog, a photo of a cute dog. And then for the car, I've stated photo of a Rolls Royce in a dark luxury garage. Those are just the things I've prompted DALL-E to. And these were the images that were generated. If maybe these prompts were more complex, you could use my prompts and get similar results. But with these prompts that almost random and vague, you are likely not to get the same result I've gotten, but you're most likely to get very realistic appearances like it is you have here from DALL-E 2. And the reason why I'd use simple prompts like this is to also buttress the fact that this is one benefit as well it brings. And then one advantage of this is the fact that it saves you as a creator or as a marketer. It saves you that endless time you spend on stock image sites to scroll through images looking for that specific image you want. So what you imagine, what you think, you can actually just put it into a text in this platform, and then it gives you an idea, and then you can just keep refining it until you come to something you're actually satisfied and convenient with. And that's one benefit of a generative tool like DALL-E 2. You can use it for images, primarily images. I've explored more of images, but you can also use it for water paint, art like fill, or crayon arts. So those are the two areas I know DALL-E 2's strengths lie in. So a similar website or platform that does this as well is Midjourney. So if you look at the set of images I have here, I've been able to create a theme and a style. So same thing as well. These are not actual buildings that exist anywhere. So these are prompts I've just put in, like you could see, the tags as well. Those are the tags I use to actually generate these images. And I've been able to create a unique white minimalistic theme, in which if I want to design a brochure and I want this look and feel across board, so I can consistently use these prompts that will generate this look and feel for me from scratch to finish. And for every image I have, I'll have this consistency in my look and feel, in which to achieve such kind of process, with the traditional tools, it's going to take, quite more time and stress, because on stock sites, you may not be able to find even the theme of the images you're looking for in the exact structure you're looking for them. And then as a designer, I might have to do several manipulations and edits to get it to my satisfaction. And that would take, far much more time. And for a client as well, it may not be very favorable, because for them to achieve such level of excellence, they might have to spend a lot on photography. They might have to spend a lot on location, set building, and so on to achieve that look and feel. But with a tool like Midjourney, with tools like DALL-E 2, you can easily create a consistent look and feel at a more, I'll say, minimal or cheap rate without spending so much time as well and so much cost. You can achieve it effectively, and you can still actually create excellence. And then Midjourney does not only generate images like this, you can also utilize Midjourney for inspiration and for also 3D elements. So the elements you have here, those of you who are familiar with Star Wars, who are Star Wars fans, this is trying to simulate 3PO. And like I say, Star Wars robot, Mars 3D. And with a simple prompt like that, I could actually generate, a high 3D resolution image of this such. And then as well, if you look to the left, you see I've imputed a prompt to say sports magazine, basketball player on the cover, black background, yellow and white text. Now, why the texts that are prompted here are incoherent and are basically not in a recognizable language. And then some of the images, are not looking very human-like. This can actually serve easily for an inspiration. And then, if I'm having a conversation with a client, I can easily deploy a Midjourney. If the client tells me, this is the idea I have, this is the idea I have, I can easily just type in based on what they're saying. I can tell them, okay, hold on. Maybe you say sports magazine, I type in that, I put a comma, and you say basketball player on the cover. I'm just using that as an instance, and I put that as a comma. Or you say you want a black background, I can put that as a comma. You want yellow and white text image, yellow and white text, okay, I can put that as a comma, and I hit enter. And then I'll get these 4 prompts. If I prompt this and the client doesn't like it, we can just keep exploring until they see something, a look and feel that they like. And same thing applies to the design on the. I'm actually using it to explore, a bank UI. Let's say there are bank websites, UI, UX, minimalist, touchscreen, hue and white colors. You see. So, and this is how the prompts actually appear on Midjourney. And then for each of the 4 options, you can actually select, a version to upscale, or you can also just select the version and make variations of that particular version. And then you can keep refining it as well. You can keep refining it, and then there are also other technical ways where you can also maybe use the details from the image as well, or use links from some website. It doesn't work for all websites, especially websites like Dribble or maybe Behance, copyright protected. But you can actually copy links from websites you like, maybe look and feel images from websites you like, and if you input it on a tool like Midjourney, it can actually create the similarity of that page in which you've copied that link for. And those are some of the things in the long run that has raised concern, and I'll talk about more of that later in the training. So, but these are the flexibility these tools give you, and then you can use them to actually create your design at a more fast and excellent rate, and it saves time. It saves a lot of the back and forth you can have as when having creative sessions, and you can easily visualize your ideas, your prototypes, and you can easily run them through. So another example is Lexica, and Lexica performs similar function, but there are just slight differences between DALL-E 2, Midjourney, and Lexica. So like I mentioned, DALL-E 2 leans more towards realistic images, and then more of like paint art or crayon art. You have more content, at least for designs I've seen. They have more content along that line. They have less of 3D content. The 3D contents I've explored using DALL-E 2 is not as clean as what you will find on Lexica. Lexica, on the other hand, most of the images generated on Lexica are basically 3D-like, and if you're a designer, if you're not a designer but you're familiar with tools like Maya, ZBrush, 3D Max, the level of rendering those software would bring, Lexica does that in a couple of seconds, and just with simple prompts as well. So every image you've seen here are actually images created just using the prompts on them. And you type in these prompts, these images are generated. They are generated for you. And here you can see I've already created a luxury feel. You have this Spain house suite bedroom with a TV set or an art on the wall. You have the luxurious, you have the Ferrari in a well-lit garage. You have the gold iPhone, and you have the private jets, in a hangar, and you could see the scene in terms of the color, the color appearance. There's a bit of gold element to all the designs I have here. And these are some of the easy flexibilities it gives you. You can easily create a mood, create a style. And to achieve this as well, like I said, using stock image sites or using actual photography would be more cost intensive. And as a result as well, some other image site, stock image site are already implementing, tools like this into their platform. So I know Shutterstock is currently doing it. So, but I wasn't able to reflect much from Shutterstock because I've used it less, and apart from that is the fact that, you have to actually have a paid subscription to eventually download, the images you've generated, and I stopped subscribing for Shutterstock for a while now. So, but basically, those are the benefits. And Lexica as well still gives you the same opportunity. You can use it for poster inspiration, for UI inspiration, and then you can also tweak Lexica to get cartoon-like feel, like I have for this New York City cartoon feel. So those are some of the minor tweaks as well. You can use it. But for the modern poster style, I think I had one with a vintage poster style. It generates multiple ideas you can easily just explore, and it serves as a point of inspiration. And you can generate 3D images like this also, just simply by putting out prompts. And like I said, everything you're generating from these platforms are actually unique to you. The highest you can actually see are things that looks closely to it. If you put in the same prompt I have here for the yellow Range Rover, or if you search on Lexica, because Lexica also has the search gallery, you'll see things that look similar, but not exactly the same. And the benefit of this is you can always refine them. Some they have editors where you can actually make tweaks and changes to them. Why there are limitations as to what you can edit, I feel over time, these platforms will develop and get better and be more efficient in terms of the application. And I will also speak much more to later. So moving away from visuals that are so crazy. And coming to more technical aspects, we have Chroma. So Chroma is basically an AI-based color palette generator. So it enables you to generate a personalized list of color palettes. It allows you to pick 50 random colors, then generate multiple palettes based on your selection, which you can view the personalized colors as, gradients, image, typography, or a color palette. So when you talk about a color palette, this first version here, that's an example of a color palette where you have, maybe your primary color, your secondary color, and your accent color, and maybe an additional color that helps. And you can actually easily see how those colors interrelate with each other and how effective they are. If you want to use it over an image as an effect, you can see how it interacts. You can see an example of a gradient, and you can see an example of how a font feels. So this doesn't give a full picture of Chroma. So, and Chroma is a bit more technical and complex. So I'll take out a few seconds to actually just run through the interface of Chroma. So if you log into Chroma, so okay, here it's already showing me generate. But when you get here, that's because I already have stuff generate. If you're a new user coming to Chroma, it shows you get started. And then if you go to get started, you come to this point where you see, if you see the extension here is chroma.co/train. So, talking about machine learning, in this case, you have to actually train Chroma to actually suit what you want them to do. So you have multiple colors here that are endless. As you keep scrolling, Chroma gives you more color options, and you can just pick the colors you prefer up to the range of 50. So at the moment, like I said, these platforms are still developing, and some, I would say, they are not optimized for the moment, at the moment. You have up to 50 colors to select from for Chroma, but I feel it would be more suitable if you can start from even as simple as a monocolor, just using one color, down to 2 to 3, and as much as maybe 100 if you wish. But at the time being, it has actually been a very useful, it's actually been a tool I found useful, because at the end of the day, working with clients, the color range in which clients use are often within a certain known range. And then within selection from 1 to 30, you can already find the software. You've covered most of the colors you find for most brands. And then within the 20 colors, you can explore extra colors for your own creativity. And then besides that, you can always retrain a platform like Chroma to suit what you want. So in as much as the selection is much, I feel over time they can actually work this out where you can start from just having a single color palette down to maybe whatever number you prefer, and you limit it to that. It's currently in beta, and I'm sure this will be developed in time. But basically, after you select your colors, you can see at the top here shows that 0 colors left. So that means I've already selected all the colors I want. And then you click start training. But this takes a while for you to start training. But by the time you're done with training, training the AI, then this is what you have. You're left with this interface where it then generates how each and every one of these colors interact in palettes. And out of the 50 colors you've selected, there are multiple versions of it. And even with what you've selected, you can still search, and it gives you more details. And then when you talk about the bias here, it gives you insight onto the level of contrast in which you can have in the color. And then you can actually adjust these colors as well, and even also down to the interface if you want it darker. So, but this is one way to view the colors. So if you don't want to view the colors in this light, you want to view them, let's say, in a gradient, you can then click gradient version. So when I click the graded version, you can see it's showing generate. I don't know how long this will take, but basically it's trying to generate graded versions of the colors I've actually generated. But then I'm not sure I'm going to give it time to do that. So, but when it does that, these colors in the palettes you've seen, eventually they'll all turn to gradients of multiple versions I can select. And this is what those versions will look like. They will look like this particular, they will look like this particular color, but they will appear in that large amount of number and boxes. So, and then you can easily also deploy this as well, in color selections, in which if I have to do this manually before, I will have to create boxes on Illustrator artboards, and then I'll have to put in these colors. I'll have to search for colors on the web. I'll have to generate multiple mood boards and then pick colors from images and generate it one after the other. But with Chroma, I can do this in less time, and I don't have to start looking at multiple colors. I can just look at the colors I want and then just click from their selection easily. And then I have a wide range of selections to pick from. And then it's also easy as well to share with the client, to see these are the ideas I have. And also from a client perspective as well, it's easy to explore this and it's okay, based on what I have in mind, this is the perfect ideas I have for colors. And then it makes the interaction between the agency or the designer and the client seamless as well. And then there's FontJoy. FontJoy is used for font pairing. So why I don't know of any tool at the moment that generates fonts from scratch. You have creators that have created fonts that are already in the market. So what FontJoy does at the moment is to aggregate these fonts. And when they aggregate the fonts, when you log on to FontJoy, you're met with this. Do I use the daytime interface? But by default, it's usually the black interface, which is for the nighttime. You have your header font, you have your subheader font, and you have your body font. And then if you like the header font, this is not the default appearance. I had selected Lato, and then you can lock Lato. When you lock Lato and you click generate, it will then look through its database and generate fonts, that are best, when you pair them with Lato as a header font. Whichever font, it will give you ideas of fonts that are best for subheaders and body. And if you don't like the appearance, you can keep clicking generate. If you find something you like for the subheader, you can also lock that. And then you keep clicking generate until you find something you're okay with for the body font. And then also the level of contrast within the font, you can adjust it using this slider. And when you adjust it, it shows you, where you are. If it's at the middle, it shows you a balanced contrast. If you're going to the right, it shows you more similar. If you're going to the left, it shows you that it's more going to be, there will be more disparity in the appearance of the font. So it has that flexibility. And then this is also something that can also be deployed as well during brainstorming sessions, and it can fast track processes, because normally when I want to select fonts, I have to still go and search for fonts manually through the web. I have to look through, and then I have to present to the client. But some of the things these tools are already doing is to actually see how those processes are curtailed. And some of these things, tasks are rather not done manually, but they are automated. And then if you pick the set of fonts you prefer, when you click on the font, if I click on Lato or Mukta, it redirects me to primarily Google Fonts, where I can then download those fonts and then use them for my design project. And like I said as well, so these are tools as well, even clients can actually use to explore ideas, and then, it's on their own. And it's also stuff, agencies and clients during brainstorming sessions can use to actually ideate and look at ideas, so that it reduces the amount of, doubt and the confusion. So, but just like most AI platform, the major drawback of FontJoy so far, it's the amount of font in its database, in which, like I said, to most of these platforms, they will just keep getting better, and the amount of data they have will keep improving. And then lastly, I'll be looking at AutoDraw. So AutoDraw is similar to like a flat icon. Flat icon is a platform where you get icons, basically, like maybe simple social media illustrations, simple icons for just some headers and all, just very minimal icons like you can see here. And some of the issues you could have in a platform like flat icon, if you're not familiar with certain icons, you may not be able to search effectively. For me as a designer, I try to understand as much as I can. I try to understand icons. When I find myself, with the new icon, I try to find out the name. I try to understand those things, but then if you're not so vast in that knowledge, if you go to flat icon, you may not be able to get the best of flat icon. And I feel platforms like that can actually incorporate, AI like you have on AutoDraw to be used. Though AutoDraw is experimental at the moment and it was created by Google. I'm hoping it will be deployed fully, especially for commercial use, not just for personal purposes. So, but basically you can use AutoDraw to create icons easily. The 10 set of icons you can see here, I did this maybe within a space of 5 to 10 minutes. And the reason why was because all I had to do was just to doodle, just doodle on the auto draw um, interface. So when you launch autodraw.com, it just takes you to an interface, a design interface, and then you can actually create manual icons. So which is also good still for, it gives you function both for designers and non-designers. So if you want to create your own icons from scratch, it gives you that opportunity. But if you can't create an icon from scratch, then you select the auto draw, which is where the AI then comes in. So when you just if you do something close to a breadstick or something close to a cake or something close to an ice cream, the suggestion tool then pops out several suggestions based on the idea sketch, and then you can select from each and every one of them. So if you're looking for an icon and you don't even know what the icon is, you don't know what the name of the icon is, you can just do something close to it, and then the suggestions will come and you can easily pick, and as well, the database as well, if it keeps increasing, you will have endless options to select from. And then when you do that, it also has the ability for you to easily color these tools as well, in which as well, if I use a flat icon, it takes me a bit of time. I will have to do that on Illustrator if it's a situation where I have to color the icons, in some cases where I have to, and then I'll have to color those icons there. But then the benefit of an auto draw is it brings in that design interface and search into a single point. And then it also incorporates AI to facilitate it as well. So even if you have to even edit icon, it's also easy. You can do it there. And then when you do, it actually suggests icons for you. And then you have a wide range of selections as well to choose from. So those are some of the AI tools I've been able to analyze. So there are more AI tools I may not speak of more. One I think I know is speaking mostly about is Adobe Sensei. And that is one very groundbreaking tool, for marketers and creators in general, and also very valuable as well for people on the client side. And I was speaking about that in a bit in some of the examples I have. But away from these tools, there are still several tools, out there in the market that actually does several functions. There are tools like design.ai. It helps you manage your brand assets. So if you input your brand assets, you can actually then maybe utilize it. The reason why I've not spotlighted it here is because, I've tried it and I've seen examples of it. It's not as effective, in terms of maybe being able to describe your layout style if you have a layout style predefined as much as it should, but I think it's actually, a tool eventually that will eventually get there, but you have tools like that can also help you manage your brand assets easily once they are defined as well for you as a client. So then with everything I've explained so far about the AI tools, at least we have an idea why we need AI tools and their benefits and importance to us. So I will just start with one of the first one I think I've highlighted the most, which is an optimized creative workflow. So AI tools basically, like I've said initially, they are trained to determine the visual assets you need and provide them within a few text prompts or clicks, like you can see. And then, like I've mentioned, so sometimes it's very difficult for designers and clients to agree on the design concept. So in brainstorming sessions, AI tools can be easily deployed to generate mood boards that captures the idea of the client. So rather than you creating a design as an agency, rather than we creating a design and then we eventually send it out, and then we are hoping for feedback from the client, because maybe we're not sure if some of the ideas we've presented, they might even want to even head in that direction. Why we're sure, okay, this one, we're clear on this one, but we have a suggestion, but we don't know if they would like that suggestion. So we might have such concerns, in some cases, these tools, it's easy to reduce that less concerns, because if they have ideas, they can actually explore that ideas. Those ideas can be explored during workshops, and they can actually see for themselves what the ideas they have look like, if it makes sense or not. And then when you have a suggestion, you don't need to spend so much time to work on that suggestion you have, and then wonder if they are going to like a suggestion. During your brainstorming session, you can explore that suggestion for them using AI tools, and they can easily have a clear-cut view of the look and feel, the colors you're going to use, what images would even likely look like. They can actually see this in real time. So if you're sending them a suggestion, it's a suggestion that they already have a clear-cut idea of what it is. So whatever you're going to be sending them eventually, will not be far away. The percentage of difference will be very minimal as compared to sending them a suggestion that, they don't even have a clue about. And if they have ideas that are bogus as well, during such sessions, it is easy, to actually determine. So like I've stated, it starts like determining color palette, font pairing, illustrative style, design layout. Those can be easily achieved, when you deploy AI tool for your ideation, and it gives more opportunity for creative exploration. Another benefit as well is the automation. So I've talked about, the time it takes, to do certain things. If you want to put down a color palette, I will do that manually before, and it will take me hours to put down several color palettes, put down several fonts and monitor. I will go to different font sites, look for fonts, and then look for ways to pair it. But with AI tools, those processes that are repetitive and time-consuming and tedious can be easily fast-tracked, and I don't have to spend more time, running around curating unnecessary data and trying to execute them as well at the same time. All I can just do is just create them on a single platform, and I can get them out, get an idea of what I'm looking for, and I can easily share as well as fast as I can with the team internally, and even send quick prototypes to the clients for them to preview why I've actually not started executing the full project eventually. So those are some of the benefits as well. So that saves you a lot of time. And if you have a lot of time on your hand as a creative, or as a marketer, as an agency, your talent management will be enhanced. So Vingage had carried out, Vingage basically, it's a platform that does infographic development. You just input your data and then they generate infographics based on your preferences. Shows that 17.8% of marketers spend 20 plus hours on visual content per week. And that's quite a lot of time. And this is just one of the percentage. They have several hours percentage. I just decided to pick this one precisely. So, but when you look at the different range of time, you have maybe close to 30%, of organizations that do that. And there are other analysis that shows that some agencies or some organizations or marketers, they spend less time, investing in design because of the time and the cost, in which these are some of the gap AI is already bridging. So in as much as these AI tools, they actually have the paid versions for each of them, especially apart from Chroma and AutoDraw. The first three are actually spotlighted, that is entirely Midjourney and Lexica. They actually have paid versions for it. So the free versions, you have limited credits to use. And I think for Lexica, they have a limited credit for every month. I don't think you have to pay. If you're free, if you use a free account, you just stop, because I've used it consecutively for some months, and I still have that access to the free credits, and I've not created a different account. But for Midjourney, there isn't that freedom. Same for DALL-E. Once you exhaust your free trial or your free credits, or you have to then go for one of the plans. But when compared to that, it is going to be cheaper when compared to the amount you might spend investing on actual photograph and the time you spend developing that. So, but when creatives spend less time, in developing or executing, and they have more times on their hand to execute. So it frees them up to engage more in design thinking. It frees them up to engage in strategy development, which will build a more effective team. When you have a designer on your team that is very, that has more leaning or strength in design thinking and in strategy development, your team is going to be far much more effective, because the design process itself starts from the actual thinking and the strategy. It doesn't just start from the execution. The execution is more or less like the last phase of it. If the strategy is not right, if the strategy is wrong, then the design output will be wrong effectively. If your design thinking process as well has not been done properly as well, your execution eventually will be wrong. And then when you spend so much time executing and spend less time on the design thinking and strategy, you can see how that eventually affects your output. When you spend more time on the aspect that really that actually defines the output, you can see how that eventually enhances your team. So you have a more effective team, when you leverage AI as well in your marketing efforts. So one other aspect is also the fact that AI also helps with data-driven designs and personalization. And this is where Adobe Sensei comes in. So Adobe Sensei, for instance, can identify best converting designs and user preferences that can work well for your brand. And that way, this personalizes, your design and also improves engagement. And then you can easily, of course, run through your designs through your client base for A/B testing. So a bit of Adobe Sensei. I wish I was able to actually show a screenshot of how Adobe Sensei works. But it's actually a tool designed, I would say, for marketers and professionals. So it's not really available where you can access it, but it works with Adobe Cloud Experience. So it's currently designed where it's incorporated with tools like Adobe Premiere Pro for video, Adobe After Effects, Photoshop. So it performs diverse functions. You can use it for analytics as well. You can use it for your creation processes. So wherefore, when you talk about identifying best converting designs, you can input your user personas and their data, their preferences, the key individuals or the key personas that identifies your target base. You can input that into Adobe Sensei, and based on that information, and of course, since it's a cloud-based experience manager or cloud-based AI, it searches the web and it gives you suggestions, while you're creating. So if you're picking images along a particular line, it gives you suggestions of more images, that actually suits what you're creating for. It also helps where if you've created a design manually, it actually optimizes that designs and recreates them in the different sizes required for different social media platforms. So it's that intuitive, where it even helps with stuff like, apart from image selection, it helps with stuff like video framing, where if you have a video you want to optimize for, let's say, Instagram reel or stories, and then you have elements in the video that are not actually framed right, using Sensei, you can actually track the sessions effectively. And then you can actually use a landscape video that Sensei has actually framed for you independently. You can easily use it for capturing the key elements. And that's how crazy, the AI is. So, and normally, if you want to do such process, especially for video, you spend time tracking. And if for those who has an experience in video editing, you understand like a motion tracking, is actually a very difficult process to achieve. But with tools like Sensei, you can actually just do that easily. And then it also understands, based on the data you've inputted in it, the market you're targeting, and then it makes suggestions for you. So you're not just creating designs, that are I would say, useful in the now, but you're creating designs that is actually drawing analytics from the market, and it's giving you suggestions, and you can create along that line. And you can also use this as well to maybe even advise a brand if maybe they need to reposition or they need a brand refresh. And those are the, like, I'll say, the benefits, of having AI tools incorporated when creating, for your marketing purposes. So it helps with automation, it helps with a better creative workflow, it helps with a more enhanced team, and is also data driven and also personalized. And then talking about personalization and Sensei, I'm going to talk about some of the cases where we've seen this play out. So which is the artwork personalization by Netflix. So the similar stuff tool like Adobe Sensei does, independently, Netflix has already incorporated this algorithm into their system, and this text I have above is an excerpt from the Netflix technology blog, which says, if the artwork representing a title captures something compelling to you, then it acts as a gateway into that title and gives you some visual evidence for why the title might be good for you. So why I saw this, Netflix has been doing this, I think this blog was released maybe some 3-4 years ago, and I felt like, are they still doing this? Is this for real? So the Netflix account I share with my brothers, so I had to look out for specific artwork, and I was able to check, the recommendations, the artwork was not actually the same. Now, why they are not doing it for every movie, because I'm sure because of the database, it's not something they've been able to incorporate across board. But for some of the major, for some of the artworks, which you could see visibly in several artworks, you could see what was recommended for me, what was recommended for my brothers were quite different, and understanding their taste in movie and understanding my taste in movie, I could actually tell indeed they were actually doing this, because the things they actually use for some of the artworks recommended for their recommendations, actually leaned more towards the kind of content they consume. So Netflix uses their AI algorithm to monitor, the kind of content you consume. If you consume horror movies, I'm sure maybe they will present, Stranger Things to you with the top left banner here. And maybe if you're someone who consumes stuff around maybe high school and maybe superhero, Nickelodeon style movie, they might recommend the one just below it, and so on and so forth. So they do this, and they have an AI algorithm that they constantly feed with information and data based on the content consumption by their users, and then they personalize their artwork. And that is one benefit. And from their own records, it's also shown that this actually boosts the engagement of their content as well on the platform. And personalization is one key aspect of Netflix, and they are also bringing that personalization down to their artworks as well. So another example we've seen here is the Nutella Unica. So this was done in Italy, by Ogilvy and Martha Italy. Ogilvy basically is a popular agency, and they have presence in virtually all the regions of the world. Maybe not specifically countries, but different regions of the world. And they created a custom AI tool that they used in generating 7 million unique Nutella jars. And then I would speak more later on to the idea behind this, why they came up with this. But they were able to use a custom AI algorithm that they refused. Every article I read about it, they kept saying it was a special algorithm. So obviously it was a custom algorithm they used to generate 7 million unique Nutella jars. And in creating 7 million unique Nutella jars, these are not things that can be achieved by human creativity, alone. If you have this done by designers, that means they're trying to break a world record, to be able to create 7 million unique jars. Maybe you have a team of designers that want to break a world record, and that's why they want to do it. But in terms of just using it for a marketing campaign, it will be frankly not reasonable, and it may not even be feasible, because it will take a lot of time to eventually achieve this. But with the power of AI, they were able to put the constraints that maintains the basic elements of Nutella, the Nutella packaging. And then they made custom Nutella jars where 7 millions of the jars, none of the 7 million were the same. And this is the kind of uniqueness AI brings into design. And according to their statistics as well, all 7 million jars were sold out in a month. So I think that was pretty much a successful campaign. And that's how basically one of the ways you can also implement AI as well into your design and marketing communication. And then you also have Heinz. So Heinz did similar stuff, but this time they didn't use a custom AI, they used DALL-E 2. And this was more or less like trying to talk about, I would say the campaign was basically, to brag about their equity as a brand, because the title is "This is what ketchup looks like to AI." So basically just type ketchup, and then maybe they add additional phrases, maybe ketchup, like a lampstand, ketchup, in a stained glass window, ketchup in a pencil art, and so on and so forth. And when they type in those things, they're not typing Heinz, but everything, DALL-E 2 brings out, looks like Heinz. Most of what DALL-E 2 brings out looks like Heinz. And then they ran this as a campaign, and they also had a gallery where they had all this artwork, and they had done a similar campaign prior where, to have user-generated content where you have to draw. But I think this time around, why they created their own version, they also asked their own users to, I think, use the platform to create, their own ketchup versions from DALL-E 2. And then they had a gallery where you can preview it. And this was done sometime in July last year. And I think it was also another pretty exciting campaign as well, where we've seen brands actually using AI for their designs. So with everything I've explained here so far, so what are basically the role of humans in AI? So one of the major things is, like I've said before, design basically is rooted in design thinking and in strategy development. So I would say if design thinking will take the center stage. So you have creators where you have a situation where most of the people who engage in a hands-on design start leaning more towards the strategy and design thinking aspect, because design basically is never about the execution itself. When you give a designer a task, they don't just go and start sketching. Designers are not artists. There's a lot of research work, there's a lot of iterative process, there's a lot of constraints to actually monitor to ensure, they are targeting the right people and then they are creating for the right audience. These are some of the benefits, of, the difference between a designer and then an artist. So design thinking would take a center stage because, it takes a human to understand real life human problems and deduce the right approach to solving them. So basically, design thinking is a process where, teams of, both creative teams, non-creative teams, basic strategic teams, business teams, they used to understand, their users, define or redefine their problems, explore innovative solutions, and then prototype and test them. And design thinking is rooted in one core primary quality, and that's empathy. And empathy can only come from humans, at least for the now. you know, Eventually maybe AI can become self-aware and can be empathetic, but at least for the now, that's one quality humans have. And I think that's one area designers can actually leverage more. Because most of the solutions we've had, globally, even down to the artificial intelligence, they were all bettered through design thinking. So I don't think that is an aspect. As long as humans exist, there'll always be that aspect of where we are constantly looking to create solutions. From the early man where, they discovered fire to date, technically design thinking has always been there because we've always sought out to make things better. We're looking for solutions from every aspect, and there's always a problem to solve. And this is one aspect, that will take the center stage. It's not really been a big aspect of design for quite a long time. Among professional designers, you have fewer people who are actually equipped with the skill of design thinking, but I think it's going to actually play more role. Now you're having more of the artificial intelligence taking the bulk of the work. And then also, if you deploy AI tools, like I pointed out during your brainstorming sessions, you can easily explore prototypes and then use those prototypes as well to test easily. So there are people who are already experimenting, for, let's say, if you do UI UX design, they're already experimenting sketch to code or sketch to high fidelity. So where you don't even have to do some of the high fidelity design, you can just maybe photograph the simple paper sketch you have, and then it gives you a high fidelity version or even a code version. They're also from image to HTML. So, but why those things are still experimental, I've tried a couple of them. They're not as effective as they should be yet, but those are experimental processes that are going on. And in time, we'll see those things develop, and those will help facilitate how teams can actually prototype ideas faster and preview and also get quick feedback in terms of testing as well. And the second aspect as well would be, art direction and curation. So like I've stated here, to effectively use an AI tool, design tool, you must prompt them with clicks, sketches, or text. As simple as just inputs in the sim, that's the beginning of art direction, which is true. So the system creates, create based on what you prompt, what you ultimately decide what works best for you. Now, going back to the Nutella campaign, this is the idea they had at the base that eventually vested that campaign where they created 7 million unique Nutella jars. They said, we think Nutella can be as special and expressive as every single one of its customers. So these are not ideas AI will come up with as its own. And for those who have experience in integrated brand experience, you understand that when creating campaign propositions, this is a clear campaign proposition. This is how, this is what we call the big idea. When you understand that Nutella can be as special and expressive as every single one of its customers, then you understand that this has basically bettered the campaign. And that's where they start thinking, okay, how can we make it? And maybe someone would then come up with the idea to say, how about we make, maybe all the Nutella jars unique, okay, how do we make them very expressive, very colorful? Well, how can we achieve this? Okay, we can build an AI algorithm that will help us achieve this. And that's how the idea was birthed. So in terms of art direction and curators, I feel that's one thing, one role humans will constantly play as well in AI. So, and I feel too, designers are basically now moving from creators to curators, because with the AI tools taking the bulk of the task, the role of designer will be to set goals, parameters and constraints, and then review and fine-tune the AI generated designs. So an example would be simply the image to the left was AI generated, and it wasn't the way it is when I actually originally generated it, but I made some minor tweaks to it, to get some of the output I actually wanted. So, and those are the roles eventually we'll see designers playing. You'll see designers spending more time in design thinking processes and strategy development and more of art direction, and they'll spend less time executing. Execution will be more of just fine tuning and maybe correcting or maybe sorting. So I feel those are the roles designers will be moving. Designers' skills will move more to intangible and less of the tangible aspect of design. And then talking about the field evolving. So AI basically, or artificial intelligence in general is a field evolving. Then talking about generative AI, generative AI basically started making a buzz from sometime last year. In as much as it's been around for a while, it's been experimented on several occasions for a while. But it started making a buzz mostly last year. That's when it has the widespread, especially with the launch of ChatGPT. But we've seen cases of where big techs are coming under fire for unethical use of data generated, and countries are beginning to take strict measures to protect their citizens' data. So one issue we currently have is data scarcity, in AI. There are regions where AI don't actually have enough information, and then when you put prompts relating such areas, you may not get as much information. And one of the issues this is raising is the issue of bias. And unfortunately, I had actually felt this way because I think within the first time I used DALL-E 2, I just typed an image of an African man. I was very dissatisfied with the images I had, because I felt like, damn, like these guys, I didn't really paying attention to us, but of course, I quickly got over that, understanding the fact that these machines are being trained. And even on stock image side, you even hardly find images or content that are actually tailored towards Africans, and that's because you have less of African creators. We have maybe limited access as well, even to the internet and so on and so forth. And with some countries as well, also barring, use of data from big tech. So it's an issue where, some of these platforms are not properly, the AI are not properly trained, to the optimal level they should be to be able to generate data as accurately as they should. And in some cases it might lead to bias because people might feel, the platforms are not inclusive, but these are some of the challenges I feel that the field is currently facing, and I feel will change over time. Then there's also been the issue of copyright infringements. I Get Image filed several suits against Stability AI. And in as much as I don't think any of those cases really made it big, but we've had several cases of both creators, independent creators, accusing the big AI platforms, stating the fact that they use their materials, they use their design style, they use their art style to train their AIs. And at the end of the day, they are not given credit or royalty for it. So, but those are some of the issues. So talking about designers moving from creators to creators. So I think this is one big role as well. Designers and artists will be playing in the future. So contributing in terms of the data that will also help train the AI, defining styles that will help train the AI. So those are going to also be a very big room for designers in the future. So if you're an artist, if you're a designer, you're going to play a huge role in terms of how AI data is actually developed, and as design trends also change, as artists have new inspirations, they will play new roles in ensuring that these AI platforms get, better, data or the current data, and they'll be well trained, using, contributions from artists. So I feel artists will play a whole lot of role as well, and designers in the back end of the development of AI. So, and then I would just want to talk a bit about the future of design. So I feel as the technology advances, artificial intelligence will be part of that technology advancement, and to play a role, a very big role in design evolution. So, and then so one of the things we expect is enhanced designs. So I've talked about how fast, Lexica can develop 3D image. So the image again to the left was developed using Lexico. This is a very high 3D render. That's, for you to do this, you have to have a very powerful, system, computer system, to be able to generate a very clean, crisp, clear render of this nature. But this is done in seconds, and it generates about 4 of these for you, because you already have Lexico with their sophisticated machines doing it, and all you just need is access to internet to get it after you've prompted it. So, and if they can do this right now, in the future, we'll see them get more powerful and more precise. So while at the moment, you may not be able to get the precise, detail you need, as precise as you need it, as this machines keep learning, as they keep getting better data, as the algorithms keep improving, you have a situation where, you have precise information, you have precise details of what you want. You wouldn't miss anything. If this is what you've put in, if this is what you're imagining, as long as you're able to describe it accurately, you have a generated image in that light. So I feel that's one thing as well we're going to see. We're going to see enhanced design. And then secondly, we are going to see more immersive and more personalized designs. So with Netflix already using personalization to target its users, we'll see more brands that will start leveraging algorithms or such, like with what Adobe Sensei is already doing as well. So we'll see more of that, where, marketers will be able to start targeting clearly, their users based on the content consumption. They'll be able to track users that consume videos more, users that consume maybe 3D animations more, or illustrative animations, or just pictures. So they'll be able to segment their market that clearly, and then they'll push content based on what you consume more. So we'll have that more immersive and personalized experience where the things you have, actually resonates with your kind of person or your kind of style, and you see that more. And then as well, we also see, more user-friendly interface and intuitive tools. So already, I like already pointed out, most of what you have to do on these platforms are just to type in a text and click generate, and that's all you have to do. So you're going to see a situation where you have more friendly tools. You're going to even see situations where you have to start having prompt suggestions. On Lexico, you can even search and see ideas and just maybe get your idea you have. Already you have each of these platforms, you can already copy prompts from what other users already generated. You can also go to Prompt Hero that gives you the opportunity as well to select prompts for different platforms. And then for Midjourney, where they work with Discord, and it's almost like a community, you can easily see what other people are creating on the go and just copy their prompts, in which I've done that severally, while using Midjourney. So you're going to see more user-friendly tools. And then talking about how a tool like Sensei is actually helping with video framing, image suggestions, you're going to have more tools like that as well that are also intuitive, also like auto draw. So where basically, it gives you insight on, okay, this is how it should be. It just does some of the processes for you. And then it also helps optimize in terms of the sizes as well for the different channels you need it. So you'll see more user-friendly and intuitive tools as well. So these are, like, I would say, like the 3 key things I can point out in terms of the future of design, as powered by AI. So, and then for conclusion, this is it. I would say, so why AI lacks human capabilities like empathy, strategic thinking, designing AI brings up a new world of possibilities. So deploying AI tools in your workflow will reduce errors, save time, minimize costs, and unlock new levels of creativity. So that's it for this session. So thank you. So before I say, if you have any questions, so fun fact, So virtually every image used on this slide, apart from my image here, so but every image you've seen in each and every one of this slide, from the cover pages to the breakout pages to each of the image on each of the slide, they were all generated with AI. So I used Lexical, Midjourney, DALL-E 2, and Stable Diffusion to generate all the images. So every single image on each of the page, every single image on each of the page were not photographed, were not from a stock website. Every single image was actually AI generated. And I did this basically also to show, the power of what you can do with AI and how limitless it is. So that's it for my session. Thank you. So if you have any question, this will be a very good time to ask. Okay, you have your hands up, Ken.
No, I'm clapping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really like this because I think it really shows how AI can become sort of part of your team as an agency. And I think it really shows how powerful AI is as well, not to replace, but to enhance the work that, we do as an agency. And especially when it comes to, sort of just being able to quickly create a mood board, right? Quickly create, a look and feel for a particular brand, or, play around with colors, and color palettes, and just instead of spending hours and hours doing it, you can, create things in a few minutes. And I think that's really powerful, and, just helps really reduce the time that you spend on specific tasks that are important, but also, can be very time consuming.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. So I don't know if anyone else has something to say or have maybe a question to ask. Okay, so I would assume that we've all understand the session and we've all assimilated properly. So thank you very much for taking out time to spend this afternoon with me, hosting you on this episode of Lunch and Learn. Hope to see you in the next. Okay, I think okay, I thought that was someone raising their hands. So thank you very much for this, and it was a privilege being here. So see you in the next Lunch and Learn session, and do have a lovely day. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.